In today's lesson, using the story of Rapunzel, we will look at another way to talk about the past, using the past continuous. There was once a man and a woman who really wanted a child, but they did not have one for a long time. They were very sad, but one day the woman became pregnant. Behind their house, there was a small window. From this window, they could see a beautiful garden. The garden was full of flowers and green plants, but it had a high wall around it. No one went inside because it belonged to a powerful witch. Everyone was afraid of her. One day, the woman was standing by the window and looking into the garden. She saw a plant called rampion. It looked fresh and green. While she was watching it, she started to want it very much. Every day, her desire grew stronger. She thought about the rampion all the time. Because she could not get it, she became weak and unhappy. Her husband saw this and became worried. He asked her, "What is wrong, my dear?" She said, "I really want to eat the rampion." Her husband loved her very much. That evening, he climbed over the wall and into the garden. He moved quietly because he was afraid. He quickly took some rampion and brought it back to his wife. She ate it and felt very happy, but the next day she wanted even more. So her husband went back again. This time, while he was coming down, he saw the witch. She looked very angry and said, "How dare you steal from my garden?" The man was afraid and said, "Please forgive me. My wife was dying because she wanted this plant so much." The witch thought for a moment. Then she said, "You can take the rampion, but you must give me your child when it is born." The man was afraid, so he agreed. When the baby was born, the witch came and took the child. The witch named the child Rapunzel. Rapunzel grew into a very beautiful girl. When she was 12 years old, the witch put her in a tall tower in the forest. The tower had no door and no stairs. There was only a small window at the top. When the witch wanted to go inside, she stood below and called, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Rapunzel had very long golden hair. She let it down so the witch could climb up. Many years passed. Rapunzel lived alone in the tower and often sang. One day, a prince was riding through the forest when he heard a beautiful voice. He stopped and listened. He wanted to see her, but he could not find a way inside. Every day, he came back to listen. One day, while he was hiding behind a tree, he saw the witch and learned how she climbed into the tower. The next evening, he went to the tower and called, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Rapunzel let down her hair, and he climbed up. At first, Rapunzel was afraid because she had never seen a man before. But the prince spoke kindly. He said that he thought about her all the time after hearing her voice. Soon they fell in love and the prince asked her to marry him. She agreed, but she did not know how to leave the tower, so they made a plan. One day, Rapunzel made a mistake and told the witch about the prince. The witch became very angry. While Rapunzel slept, the witch cut off all her hair and sent her far away. When the prince came again, the witch was waiting for him. She let the hair down, and he climbed up. But when he reached the top, he saw the witch. She told him he would never see Rapunzel again. The prince became very sad. He cried so much that he became blind. He wandered in the forest for many years. He was always thinking about Rapunzel. One day, he heard a voice. While he was walking, he followed the sound. It was Rapunzel. She ran to him and cried. Her tears fell into his eyes, and suddenly he could see again. They were very happy. He took her to his kingdom, and they lived together happily for many years. The end. Thanks for watching. Want to understand the grammar in this story? Watch the grammar lesson. Ready for your next story? Watch this. In our previous lessons about the Frog Prince, we learned about the past simple and used it to talk about past events. In today's lesson, using the story of Rapunzel, we will look at another way to talk about the past, using the past continuous. Link to the full story in the description and the first pinned comment. Let's look at these examples from the story. The woman was looking into the garden. She was standing by the window. He was hiding behind a tree. So when did these actions take place? The past or the present? The answer, they happened in the past. In the past continuous form, was or were tells us we are talking about the past. The ing tells us that the event was in progress. So the past continuous is for events in progress in the past. The main, most basic use of the past continuous is to talk about actions in progress while in the past. This can be used in two ways. This is very good for setting a scene when telling a story or explaining what happened to you. It makes us feel like we are reliving the moment. It creates a picture in our minds. The past continuous can also be used for interruptions or actions happening at the same time. If you notice, the interruption or other action is in the simple past tense. For example, while the prince was walking, he followed the sound. This means he was walking and he followed the sound. Followed is in the past tense. Or, the prince was riding through the forest when he heard a beautiful voice. So he was riding through the forest, then he heard a voice. So we can see that the past continuous and the past simple work together. So you might be wondering when you should use the past simple and when you should use the past continuous. That will be in our next lesson. For now, let's just focus on the past continuous. Now let's talk about common time markers, words that can help us know what tense we are using. When is used with interruptions. When can come at the beginning or in the middle of the sentence. And while is used when actions are happening at the same time. While introduces the long action or the past continuous. It can come in the beginning or the middle of the sentence. And now let's practice. You have 3 exercises with the answers. The first exercise. Rewrite the sentences using when. Pause the video and take as much time as you need to complete the exercise. And here are the answers to your exercise. Pause the video and check your answers. And here is your second exercise. Instructions. Rewrite the sentences using while. Pause the video and complete the exercise. And here are the answers to your exercise. Pause the video and check your answers. And here are the rest of the answers to the second exercise. Pause the video and check your answers. This is the last exercise. Fill in the blanks with the past continuous. Pause the video and complete the exercise. Take as much time as you need. And here are the answers to the last exercise. Pause the video and check your work. So now, tell your story. Tell us about an interruption that happened yesterday. For example, I was eating lunch when the doorbell rang. And number 2, tell us about 2 actions you were doing at the same time. For example, while I was scrolling on my phone, the internet stopped. Thanks for watching. Want to learn the keywords from the story? Watch the vocabulary lesson, or continue on to your next story. In this lesson, we will look at some of the words and phrases we can learn from the story of Rapunzel. If you'd like to listen to the full story, the link will be in the description and the first pinned comment. Let's start by looking at these lines. She felt unhappy. Her husband saw this and became worried. If you remember from our previous vocabulary lesson, for the story of the Frog Prince, we covered the word unhappy. We had said that unhappy can mean sad, but it had another meaning. When you feel bad because something is wrong. This was the example from the previous lesson. Here, the princess did not want to do what she was asked, meaning she did not want to share her food with the frog. So we can see that even basic words can have a deeper meaning. On to the next. She said, I really want to eat rampion. First of all, rampion is of course the name of the plant that the mother of Rapunzel wants to eat. This is a picture of the plant. Think of it like a vegetable that is grown in some parts of Europe. The other thing we want to understand is why. Why does she want to eat this particular plant so much? Remember in the story, the woman is pregnant, and often pregnant people really want to eat certain foods. So instead of saying, I really want to eat something, we can say, I am craving something. For example, I really want to eat rampion becomes I'm craving rampion, or I'm craving chocolate. How dare you? This is something that people say when they are very angry or shocked by what someone did or said. In this example, how dare you steal from my garden? When she was 12, the witch put her in a tall tower in the forest. So, what is a tower? For my Spanish-speaking friends, when I say tower, you might think of something that looks like this. The tall building with your apartment. And that would be correct, because a tower is a tall, often narrow building. Here are a few examples of some famous towers from around the world. The Eiffel Tower in Paris, France. The Big Ben, which is a clock tower. Maybe the place where you live has a tower with a clock above it. And of course, in the story, Rapunzel lived in a tower. These are all very old buildings. Look at the years when they were built. In the 1800s. But what do we call modern towers that are very, very tall? Let's look at a few examples. The Empire State Building in the USA, the Shanghai Tower in China, and Taipei 101 in Taiwan. These very tall modern towers can be called skyscrapers. So, we could say a skyscraper is a type of tower, but a tower is not necessarily a skyscraper. She agreed, but she did not know how to leave the tower, so they made a plan. So, what is the difference between plan versus plans? Plan is usually used for a very specific or serious reason. For example, they made a plan to leave the tower, or they made a plan to save money. But plans with an S is more about fun. So for example, they made plans for the weekend, or I have plans for tonight. So meaning changes a little bit just because of that S added at the end. The prince became very sad. He fell from the tower and became blind. Blind means cannot see. But what do we call it when someone cannot hear? The thing on the person's ear is a hearing aid, not AirPods for listening to music, just so you know. The word is deaf. If someone cannot speak, and if they use their hands to talk, what do we call that? The word is mute. And of course, when they use their hands to talk, that is called sign language. Let's review what we learned today. The first word we looked at today was unhappy. which can mean sad or feeling bad because something is wrong. The second word we looked at is craving, which is another word to express really wanting to eat something. In the story, that was the rampion that the mother wanted to eat. Next, we looked at a phrase, how dare you? How dare you is a phrase used to express when somebody is shocked or angry about something. The other word was tower, and we learned that a really tall tower is called a skyscraper. We also looked at plan versus plans. So plan is for something serious, plans are for fun. And lastly, we learned the word blind, which means when somebody cannot see. And we also learned the words deaf for when someone cannot hear, and mute for when someone cannot speak and uses their hands to speak instead, using sign language. Now it's time for you to practice. What word or phrase was new to you? Try to use it with an English-speaking friend, then come back to the comments and tell me how that went. Thanks for watching. Now that you understand these words from the story, watch the story again and see how much more you understand. Or continue with your next story.